Hello and welcome to episode 272 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm the bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. And joining me is the explicit League Freak. You can find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I am going very, very well, Andrew. How are you today?
Doing well. Doing very well.
That's really good.
I've got nothing to complain about. I mean, we should probably just wrap this episode now.
Yeah, it was good. So thanks for everyone for listening, and we'll tune in tomorrow.
Exactly. I think that's all we need to do. That way the last two episodes can even out at about an hour and a half.
Yeah, it'd work here well. Hey, you know what everyone should do? They should think about how they feel right now. Like, do they feel ready to go? Because if you're ready to go, you feel better about yourself, you know.
True.
And the way to be ready to go is to go to manscaped.com, because if you go to manscaped.com and you use our exclusive code, which is NRL, you get 20% off and free shipping on everything on their website. It's a pretty good deal. Absolutely everything. We both recommend the perfect package because you get everything you need in that, because you know you need the right tools for the job, and that's what Manscaped gives you. And if you see the Lawnmower 3.0, it's waterproof. It's got a ceramic it's got a ceramic blade. It's so good I can hardly even speak about it. Hey,
that's right. I mean, it's like when you fall in love with someone and your just mind goes to mush. I mean, it's the same with the Manscaped products. They're just unbelievable. Pretty
much. Like every time I grab the Lawnmower 3.0, I hear that song, "Why Do Birds Suddenly Appear?" Every time you're near, just like me, they're about to be close to you. Of course, at the time, I'm singing it to my junk. My junk looks really good because of manscaped.com. So go there, put in our exclusive code for our listeners. It's NRL, 20% off, free shipping. I don't know how much more people want us to do for them.
I mean, we give you all of this great content for your ears. And now we've also teamed up with Manscaped to give you some great service, so you can provide some great content for those who like your balls.
Exactly.
This is just what we do. Now, there's been some big news today.
Yes. Anybody that listens to our podcast wasn't surprised.
No, that's right. Because the expert here, the long running expert, I should say, and that's League Freak, said this. God, it might have been last year, I assume. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck will go to Rugby Union. Turns out today that that's pretty much what's going to happen.
Yeah, it must have been. I know we said it late last year in an episode.
That's kind of when it was coming up.
But I'm pretty sure I was saying it earlier in the year too.
Yeah, you had.
Yeah.
So the reports are that he's looking at leaving the Warriors at the end of this year, with a plan of trying to get into the All Black squad for the 2023 Rugby World Cup.
Yeah, which he'll do. He'll be a walk-up start. The Warriors have said that he can go. The only people he is allowed to negotiate with is the New Zealand Rugby Union. It looks like he would more than likely play for the Auckland Blues, which they're the ones that a lot of the former rugby league players go and play for. I'm not sure why, but anyway. And yeah, he would get into the All Blacks team for their next World Cup, or whenever that is. I don't really care. But it's an interesting one. It's been on the cards for a while. We've talked about it for a long time. And he'd be a gigantic loss for the Warriors. He'd free up a lot of salary cap space for them, but I don't know who they would be able to target that is anywhere near the quality of RTS. And we were talking about this before the podcast. I wonder what would happen if RTS was offered a Godfather deal from a Sydney club, whether it would make him think twice or whether he's got his heart set on this move.
I'm fairly certain now that he's not a man who's driven by checkbooks. This sounds entirely like a move where, I mean, he would know himself that he can pretty much write his own bloody check in the NRL.
Yeah.
That wouldn't likely be the case in Rugby Union. So this sounds like something that he wants to do, not something he sees as a source of revenue, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's done with rugby league. I think this is just something he wants to have a crack at, see if he can do it, and it looks good on the resume, I guess. Post career, another thing you've done, check that off the list, and then he'd probably come back to rugby league in 2024.
Yeah, in some capacity. Yeah, I think
I think he'd only be 30 then.
Yeah, I think you're right. 2024, 30. He might be 31.
Yeah. I mean, it's just after his peak, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
So, he'd be fine. And he'd probably take whatever deal is thrown at him from Sydney, which, if he wins a Rugby World Cup, he'd probably be able to come back to $1 million deal again in Sydney if he wanted to.
Yeah, and he's the sort of player that he'd be fine. Like, I'd have no problems with him losing any athleticism or anything like that.
Nah.
The thing that was getting me about him at the Warriors is that he's clearly one of the top 3 players in the game in rugby league. And I just think that you would see him putting in that sort of top 3 player in the world performance at a club which was absolutely terrible. And in rugby league, it's kind of funny. In rugby league, for the very elite players, I think they are more likely to look elsewhere outside of the NRL than switch clubs. They've got a real loyalty to their clubs.
Yeah.
And in some ways, that's a really good thing, but it's not great when they feel it is a better alternative to leave the NRL than to go to a different club. Because RTS, I mean, you could build an entire, it doesn't matter what team he went to, he could go to the Brisbane Broncos and they could build the club around him for the next few years. He's that sort of player. So it'll be sad if he is lost to the NRL. I do hope that other NRL clubs step in and offer him deals that he basically can't refuse. But I agree with you. It seems like it's just something that he's got an opportunity to do. He's not going to do it without talking to, it's not like he's just going to be like any other player that wants to get in the All Blacks. I'm sure he's talked to the right people. I'm sure that they've said, look, if you'd make that switch, they won't have guaranteed him a jersey, but it's RTS. He'll get in and he'll back himself, and that won't be a problem. Just like every other rugby league player that wants to give it a go, you just, switch to Rugby Union, you get handed one of their test jerseys, and you're one of the best Rugby Union players immediately. It's pretty easy, really.
What he could have done is just, he could have stayed with the Roosters for, instead of going to the Warriors, because then he would have walked into the Wallabies team.
Yeah.
Just because he'd lived in Sydney for, a decade or so. And he wouldn't have to worry about playing club rugby there. He could just rock up, just say, I'm playing Rugby Union now, and just do it for 3 months, playing the World Cup, and then come back. But I suppose he wants to play for a team that's successful. That's why he wanted to go to the All Blacks. He
probably wants to play for an organisation that actually has close to the same amount of money that he has. It'd probably be easier for him to buy Rugby Union in Australia than for them to try and find money to pay him.
That's an idea. As if Rugby Union Australia was owned by one player.
Well, if Sonny Bill Williams had been paid money by the Toronto Wolfpack, maybe he could have bought him.
Imagine that. That'd be fantastic.
I wonder if
you could just go out and play in a Rugby Union test match alongside the owner of the game.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, though, who wants to, and just say, I don't know how many, professional players there are in Australian Rugby Union ranks. Let's say there's, 90. I doubt it's even that. But who really wants to spend that much money on 90 fat blokes? They can't play footy very well.
It's an interesting question. Maybe those hot dog eating contest people.
You know what I was watching today on YouTube?
Hot dog contest eating?
No, that was built similarly, though.
I'll tell you what, though, you need to get into that. That's a rabbit hole you never get out of.
I tell you what, I went down a rabbit hole today. I started watching World Championship slap fights.
The open hand slaps.
Yeah. There was this Samoan dude. What was he called? I think he called himself the Crazy Samoan. Was he called this? No, he's called the Crazy Hawaiian. Sorry. and he was slapping the snot out of people. He was slapping the piss out of them. It was so good. And then I started watching bare knuckle boxing from Russia. Oh man, you go and look up. I think it's Top Dog's bare knuckle boxing. It is amazing. It's my new favorite sport.
Oh, that slapping thing's crazy. You just know that was made by an American. Because I sat there going, how can we have a fight sport, but not with too much fun? Like, let's just condense it down to the shortest possible bouts possible. Yeah. I know. Let's just have open hands slapping the living shit out of someone. Well, I mean, that's a game where the toss decides who's going to win.
Almost. I mean, there was this dude that called himself the Crazy Hawaiian. There was this big dude, and they all look like, farmers, like big corn-fed farmers. And
truck drivers.
Yeah, pretty much. They've all driven a John Deere at some point. And this dude, he comes up against him, and it was his first competition. And the toss of the coin, and unfortunately, the first person that got to go was the Crazy Hawaiian, and he slapped the piss out of him. He knocked him out immediately. It was incredible. And they put cotton wool in one of their ears so they don't burst their eardrums. They wear mouth guards. They've got rules. You can't, step into it. You've got to have your feet planted. Oh, it was so good. And, yeah, that led me to the bare-knuckle boxing from Russia, where you get, 3 2-minute rounds. And the circle that they fight in is around the edges as just hay bales. And it's filmed in HD cameras. Oh man, it is so good.
Do they have to drink 2 bottles of vodka each before they start the fight? And they've got to take their shirts off.
I don't know. But
I mean, essentially, all that is just the next level after a Russian dash cam video.
Pretty much, yeah. And the cut people in the corners, because they had cut men in there. They were fantastic. These people were going to the corners, and their faces are just piss and blood. And they would go back into the fight, and I don't know how long between the rounds, but it felt like more than a minute. But they would go back. Could have been, actually, when I think about it. But they would go back in, and their cuts would be... They worked miracles on these dudes. And it was really funny because it looked like it was happening in a warehouse. But it's all filmed in really high quality, and it's all pretty professional considering. And you would see kids around the outside of it, and young people and teenagers and stuff, and it was man, this is pretty eclectic fan base that they've got for this thing too. It was great. I love looking at YouTube and just finding myself somewhere.
That's brilliant. Now, speaking of finding himself somewhere, there's reports that Benji Marshall is heading to Souths.
Yeah, the more I've thought about this, it is a really good idea for South Sydney. Really good idea. Because we have always talked about, doesn't matter how well Souths are playing, you've always got that issue that Adam Reynolds normally gets right to the final series and then gets injured. And if that happens this year, if they've got Benji Marshall, it's not that big of a problem.
But during the season, when he and Walker are going to be completely fit, I mean, Walker's going to miss games because he's probably going to get called up to Origin.
Mm-hmm.
So Benji will be slotting in at 6 for those few weeks there.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, there's going to be around 20 weeks where he may not be a starting half. Do you put him on the bench?
It'd be hard to carry him on the bench, though, wouldn't it?
Well, that's right. I mean, if you put him on the bench, where does he play when he gets on the field? If you already got 2 halves there, does he play at centre? I mean, he's not a very good defender, so that doesn't seem like an idea that's workable.
No.
You got Latrell at fullback, so you put him at the wing, you put him at hooker. I mean, you got Damien Cook, you don't need him there. I don't see where Benji fits into the side other than filling in for 3 or 4 weeks during the season, which doesn't seem like that great an idea for him.
But if that's his best option that's available, and he feels that physically he can be really good, he might think to himself, look, I can't do the grind anymore, but I can be ready, fit, and give my best in these one-off games. And look, you could use him in New South Wales Cup as much as you wanted. You could have him play half games, whatever you want to do at that level. but I agree with you. I don't think you could have him on the bench because, most clubs you'd say, oh, you could probably play him at hooker for a little bit. You don't really need that with Damien Cook there.
No. I mean, Cook is an 80-minute player.
Yeah.
And so fast, you don't need the explosive speed and, steps and stuff like that Benji's got. Not that it's as explosive as it used to be, but it's still there. I think what Benji did is he's kind of put himself in a corner because everyone knows he could go over to England and earn mega dollars over there and wouldn't have to put his body through a great deal of work.
No.
But he doesn't want to leave Sydney. He's got his young family there. He just wants to stay there, and he's in the twilight of his career. He doesn't see the purpose in going over to England for 2, maybe 3 years and then coming back again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I decided to stay in Sydney. I don't know. I think there could have been options like going to Newcastle. That could have been an option. It's not too far away.
Yeah.
Surprised the Dragons didn't go chasing him.
Yeah, I wonder why they did. Look, and the crazy part is the team that really could use him is the Tigers.
Yeah. That's the thing. Tigers didn't replace him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what they do. They're geniuses like that. It's all part of the strategy, man. It's the tactics.
They're thinking long term. They're looking forward to when they have to merge with another club in 100 years.
That's right. So yeah, that's that story. But nothing's been confirmed yet. The clubs said nothing. There's no quotes anywhere. Benji said nothing. Mm-hmm. So at this stage, take it with a grain of salt because that's pretty much all you can do.
Yeah, but I think you and me agree that he's too good of a player. He's got too much experience that no club is going to pick him up at some point. Like, if I could see a number of clubs, like Manly, for instance, if Foran gets injured again, I could see them saying to Benji, like, do you want to fill in for half a season or something? And, so I don't think he's going to be without a club, but I think South, it'd be a really good move for South. So it'd cover a base for them that has been something that's been a bit of a downfall for them over a number of years. So, when I saw that news, I was like, wow, that'd be something for South Sydney that, that's a feather in their cap going into the season. That really makes me think that they might move up to maybe third in the NRL going into the season, the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah, look, anything's possible there, I guess. Mm. Now, while we're at it, we mentioned the Tigers. Moses Mbai, he's come out and said, you know what? I don't want to be captain anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy for James Tarmo to be captain. I mean, isn't that kind of him to relinquish an honour that was handed to him? So, I mean, the good news for the Tigers is now that Mbai is not captain,
yeah,
we don't need to try and figure out how we fit him into the 17.
Yeah, it's just his gigantic salary that's the problem at that point.
Yeah, we're good at having gigantic salary sitting on the bench. That's not a drama, or sitting in reserve grade.
Yeah,
there's more trying to figure out where he fit in the run-on side.
Dude, are you playing with your microphone?
A little bit.
Yeah, you can hear it pretty loud,
I apologise for that.
It's all right.
I'll go back to using a pocket knife.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, grab hold of something else with both hands and just keep them there.
Yeah.
Like the West Tigers could end up with the most expensive reserve grade team of all time next year, or this year, I guess. I keep calling it next year, hey?
Yeah. Next year we should be fine.
Yeah.
There'll be I think Mbai will be the only expensive player left next year. Packers are gone at the end of the year.
It sounded like I feel like somebody said to him, look, Moses, we want Tarmo to be our captain. We think it would be an elegant situation for you if you said, you know what, I'm giving up the captaincy because it's better than when we strip it off you.
Yeah, I'd strip it off him.
Yeah, so would I.
I'd say, Moses, you're not captain anymore. You know why? Because we don't understand where you fit into our squad anymore. So pick a position, get good at it, and work your way into the side, and then, maybe then, we will consider making you a captain. That's your job for this year.
I would say to him, listen, Moses, okay, you see what RTS is doing? Have you ever thought of doing that yourself?
Mate, you would walk into the Wallabies team anywhere you wanted to.
I bet he would. But yeah, it isn't it weird how NRL clubs treat captaincy. Like, I don't like the group captaincy thing. Like that we saw the Newcastle Knights. They've got 5 captains this year, and one of them is Mitchell Pearce.
South did that several years ago.
Yeah,
and they had captains on a rotating basis. They had this captaincy group of 5 or 6 players, and each one of them would take it in turns being captain every week. It's just nonsense.
Stupid. And it's, you know what makes it really, really stupid is that all of the players know who they're going to look to when there's a decision to be made. Like, it's not like all of them sort of stand around and they're like, all right, what are we going to do? Like, everyone knows who their decision maker is. But I think that clubs started doing it to mitigate against when there was off-field issues. So it wasn't your club captain that got in trouble off the field. It was like one of several club captains, so it wasn't that big a deal.
Someone from the leadership group.
Yeah, exactly. It's like bloody Kevin Walters right now. Anybody that plays for the Broncos, he says, well, he could be a potential captain. It's like, Kevy, you should know your captain by now. Why don't they have a captain?
Speaking of Kevy, he suggested that Anthony Milford could be captain this year.
Yeah. And he said it, I'm sure he said it about Payne Haas too. Like, I just don't get it. That he should know who his captain is. They should have named the captain already.
Yeah.
But that's a club that doesn't have a really good choice.
No. None. So, I don't know. It seems like a it seems like a weird article because not only has he chosen to stand down as captain, he's also gone out and publicly suggested who it should be that replaces him.
Yeah.
How much power do you think you got there, mate?
I mean, I know that technically you own 1/3 of the friggin' franchise at this point, but still.
Exactly. Oh, fucking nuts. Anyway, more Tigers talk, sort of. Josh Addo-Carr has revealed the phone calls that he had with Trent Barrett and how they convinced him to go to the Dogs over the Tigers.
Now, what did Trent Barrett say?
It's not so much what Trent Barrett said. It's more that Addo-Carr liked the fact that Trent had been working as assistant at Penrith and given Penrith success. I think Josh Addo-Carr has attributed probably too much of that success on the work that Trent Barrett did.
Yeah.
And he's seen that as a reason why the Bulldogs might be going somewhere and the Tigers aren't.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what? There's probably a fair element of logic to that. Because the Tigers don't go towards success. They go towards a plateau, and they just stay on the plateau.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, I don't, personally as a Panthers fan, I don't attribute any of our success to Trent Barrett. Like, we were going in the direction that we ended up in well before Trent Barrett decided to turn up with his, you know, his car full of second-hand shares at this stage. But, you know, I guess, like, the big story is, someone from the Bulldogs convinced me to go to the Bulldogs. It's like, okay.
Exactly. Like, they wouldn't be doing their job if they didn't. I mean,
yeah.
If you had someone at the club that couldn't convince you to come to the club, then that person should probably be over working at the West Tigers.
They probably are.
Because that's what they do.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, on to less entertaining news. Former NRL hooker Masada Yusefa passed away during the week.
Yeah.
It was the day before he turned 33 years old. It was apparently a quad bike accident, if I recall. He played 4 tests for Samoa from 2009 to 2013. Spent 4 seasons at Penrith, where he played 43 games, and 2 seasons at the West Tigers, where he played another 14 games. So 57 NRL games all up. Yeah, kind of shocking news, really. I think he'd been working as a development officer for the Queensland Rugby League. So, yeah, absolute shocking news to be so young as well.
Yeah, it was very sad. He actually lived in the suburb I grew up in Western Sydney, Tregear. So like, it was really awesome to see him make first grade for the Penrith Panthers. He was a pretty robust player for a hooker. I was sad to see him leave the club when he did. I thought that he didn't really get the opportunities that he needed for his career to progress at the West Tigers.
Well, I mean, he was basically behind Robbie Farah.
Yeah.
You're not going to give any opportunities there. And the West Tigers had that, because they had Farah there, they were used to having someone rather sharp and nippy at a dummy half. And Yusefa was more of his passing was pretty crisp, but he wasn't the lightning bolt out of dummy half. He didn't have that short kicking game that Farah had. He was more of just a pass off the deck sort of guy. Very good defender.
Yeah, strong dude as well.
Yeah,
and
built like a tank.
He really was. I thought he would have gone really well over in Super League, but I guess he chose not to go over. And really, a player that for his talent should have played way more football. And I just think he was one of those players where, things just didn't pan out for him. I don't think there was any real reason why. It's just that happens to some players. And yeah, when that news came through, it was very sad to hear.
Yeah, so condolences to him, and thoughts with his family at the moment. That's pretty tragic news there.
Yeah, it was. It really was.
Now, is there... Oh, there was something else I was going to ask. I can't remember what it was.
There was
Yeah?
You know what? There was the news that Nadine sent us.
Oh, yes. That's right. Pretty much the boss.
Yeah.
Every now and then she just, has to give us content to make sure that we stay on track. She's sent us this article from the Sydney Morning Herald, and it's the Stan. It's kind of like Channel 9's version of KO Sports.
Yeah, and by the way, the Sydney Morning Herald is owned by Channel 9.
Exactly right. They've announced that they will be charging people $10 a month to stream sport. And part of that sport they've got is a huge chunk of Rugby Union content, which is all of the Wallabies tests, the Super Rugby, the Shoot Shield. It will also include the Wimbledon and French Open tennis tournaments as well. And that's going to cost people $10 a month, I think, initially. And then if you don't get on board at the start, it'll then go up to $20 a month. Or something like that.
How would you rather spend $10 a month?
$10 a month.
I would rather burn it to keep warm. I would rather plant it in the ground, right, and hope that money starts growing out of the ground, like turnips or something.
I'd probably give $10 a month to the Super League.
Ooh, so you're buying like a 30% share of Super League, huh?
Who knows? I mean, am I actually getting anything at all with that $10 a month?
Oh, no, not at this stage.
Would that be a worse thing to do with it than just burning it?
You could buy a Super League, like fringe Super League player, because they don't have minimum wage,
Well,
so if $10 a month.
If I gave them $10 a month,
yeah,
I'm giving them more money than Papa John's is, so I'd be looking for naming rights sponsorship somewhere.
Yeah, what would the naming rights be though? What would you say you wanted it to be? Would it be the Rugby League project?
No, it'd be a Fergo on the Freak podcast one.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd probably, I don't know. Would you get one of those massive big, those big banner things they had up there for the NHS and stop racism signs they had up?
Yeah.
I'd get one of those up with just our logo for the podcast.
That would be cool.
Just bung it up one end.
I can imagine the Poms would really embrace what our logo looks like.
Yeah. We'd have to get security guards around us so they don't get to it and damage it.
Yeah.
The other thing we could probably do is I could bump it up to $25 a month.
Yeah.
And just have free gravy available at every game.
What if at half time, right? And this might cause a riot. If at half time you just had a giant gravy boat on wheels come out And like,
Tell me
fans
that
could
will
line
not
up.
bring fans through the gates at Super League games.
Exactly. And fans just line up and they come with like a mug and they dip their mugs in and they start like sculling gravy. And
No, mate, they've got a bit of culture and class. They'll just sip it through the second half.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
hang on a second. Do you think that whole KR fans have culture and class? The
Hang
only,
on.
the only cultures that they have is when, someone takes a swab and they find out they've got chlamydia in 2 days later,
I'm trying to win them. I'm trying to win them over here. You're not helping.
So am I. I'm just being honest about them.
Yeah, don't be honest. That's a problem.
No,
I don't like honesty.
Look, the only way that whole KR fans are listening to us is if the people whose phone they stole were fucking subscribed to the podcast. So don't worry about it. You could have theme rounds. Like you could have chicken gravy round. You could have roast beef gravy round. You could have the OXO round.
So, what else have they got?
What other gravies are there?
Haven't they got other stuff there? Don't they make one out of what's that shitty attempt to try and copy Vegemite they've got over there? They love
Marmite.
They make gravies and stuff out of Marmite, don't they?
I've never heard of that.
Oh, trust me, there'll be people over there that do it. Marmite.
What the weirdest gravy in the world is?
I'm gonna say something that the English fans are not gonna like. Your Marmite tastes like ass. It is filthy, foul shit. Try and eat Vegemite, which is proper spread for your toast. Marmite is garbage.
Far out, Andrew. You shouldn't say that sort of stuff to our English films. I'd like to apologise for Andrew Ferguson attacking all of our English listeners. That's
both times
harsh,
I've been to England.
Yeah.
Both times we stayed in one of the hotels and they offered breakfast over there. And I went, you know what? I like most of the English breakfast. Then they come up with the toast and they had Marmite there. You went, you know what? I'll give it a crack. First time, I'll give it a crack. I'm eating it going, what is this foul shit? I ate it all because, I'm not a wasteful bastard, but I hated it. And when I went back, I went, you know what? Maybe I was just being a little bit rough. I'll give him a second chance. I ate the second time. I went, no. It's got worse.
See, I've never tried it, but I don't eat Vegemite either.
Oh, well, that ends this podcast then.
Yeah, that's the end of the podcast forever.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, you know what? If that's your little thing that makes you un-Australian, then I'll throw my hat, okay? I don't drink alcohol.
At all?
At all. Never have.
Look, I've noticed this because I've tried to get you drinking plenty of times on the podcast and, I think even a couple of times just when we've been chatting on Skype. And, yeah. Why don't you drink alcohol?
Not interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I tell people this, they often ask me, is it like a religious thing? Fuck no, I don't give a shit about religion. Just can't be asked. I just, I went working in a, managing a pub at a very young age and spent most of my time either, helping my mates who were pissed and trying to start shit, get them out of the club and say, yeah, piss off, get sit in your car for a while, and, sober up, and obviously I had that key, so I can't drive anywhere. Or I'd have to go out and clear up all this vomit off places where I didn't think you could get vomit. I went, yeah, you know what? If that's what alcohol does, then I'm not interested.
How many times do you think I'm going to get drunk during a year and we podcast?
Every time we're on air.
No. Don't do that. Jesus. I'd have to be an alcoholic. I'd be constantly drunk.
I don't think we'd get you drunk on the podcast because I've seen you drunk and tweeting before, and you get very very friendly and very amorous. I don't think people are ready for that.
No.
I love you all. You're all fucking beautiful. I fucking love yous. Yous are all fucking just so fucking lovely. That's pretty much you when you're drunk.
Well, there was that episode. It wasn't last year. It was the year before. Penrith had lost really badly, and it had a few. I wasn't happy with that episode.
We did it anyway.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'll try. It depends how Penrith goes, really.
Well, that's true. Now, have we had any emails?
We actually did, and I replied back. So let me open up the email device. While
you're doing that, we had a message come from Jack Isaacson on our Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to read it out because he's given us a bit of praise. So,
Okay.
I'm not saying we've got egos, but we fucking do.
No, yeah, but stroke it.
Yeah. He meant to say this some time ago. He said, "We are so great because you can't even tell we're in different cities, 1,000 kilometers away on Skype. 99% seamless, unlike my smooth ball sack." And then he said, "Fuck, gonna give myself the Pappenheiser when it grows back." And he said he got on the promo with Manscaped when we first got sponsored.
Oh, right.
So he's all in.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jack.
Well, he'll be loving the smoothness that comes from Manscaped. It's fantastic. Everyone should get on board. We got an email from Adam, and it's funny. It says subject is content, and he said, "I was looking at my podcast feed and had fallen behind listening to Fergo and the Freak. I looked at the 3 most recent episodes, and there's about 8 hours of content there. Who else is doing that in January? Keep up the great work." So I emailed him back and said thank you and all that. So that was nice.
Did he send that prior to the 1997 episode?
He sent it on the 27th, so I think it was after the 1997 episode.
I was going to say, it was before he chucked another 3.5 hours on there.
And then we had one from Nui Ash, and he said, "Have you guys ever seen Dominic Young? He appears to be some kid that the Knights have signed from Huddersfield, and I was curious as to whether he is any good or if he's just been signed because he's really tall." I've never seen Dominic Young.
He's I know that he stands at close to 2 meters tall.
Yeah.
He's about 106 kilos, and he's a winger.
Yeah.
So I kind of picture him as being something along the lines of Lottie Takuri, but taller.
Okay.
He's that sort of build. Haven't seen much of him. He's only 19. I don't even know if he's played much footy yet. So,
who was that winger? I think he might play for the Wildcats from memory. And you and me, somebody mentioned him to us on the podcast, and then we watched a game, and he scored a couple of like ridiculous tries. I'm like, holy shit, this guy.
Oh yeah.
What was his name?
Was that Tom Briscoe?
No. It wasn't. It wasn't Tom Briscoe.
Lynham?
Hey?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I feel like his last name might be Williamson or something like that.
I'll just have a look and see who the top try scorers were in Super League.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to do it.
Ash Handley at Leeds?
No, it wasn't. He wasn't a Leeds player.
Tom Johnson.
It might have been him, actually.
I think it was him, yeah.
Yeah.
He was at Wakefield. That's the one. I do remember that, yeah. He's a pretty damn good player. Interesting fact about him. German.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, Carson would have told us about that.
Yeah, Carson, I know about him. He's born in Germany, but yes, he has played for England.
Well, that's not a shock. I mean, they keep on flouting the international eligibility rules whenever they can.
He's got an international try scoring record that is on a par with Charlie Staines' NRL try scoring record because he's played one test, scored 3 tries.
Who did he score them against?
France.
Good on him. That's pretty handy.
He is a pretty handy player though.
I saw the Rugby Football League put out a tweet a couple of days ago. They said who are your 2 favourite Australians to play in English Rugby League of all time. I said Blake Austin and Jackson Hastings.
No, they said Australian.
Yeah, and I said Australian too. Damn it.
They're not Australian. They're as Australian as Lachlan Coote. You know,
the weird thing about the Rugby Football League and all that over there, they do a lot of social justice stuff, right? And I'm not against it. You know, good luck to them for doing that. But it's weird to see them doing all of that stuff while the game is dying so quickly over there. And it's like, you know, I get that this stuff is good, but how about you put in, you know, a bit more effort into making sure the game isn't fucking dying so quickly over there.
Yeah, show that level of care for everybody else to your actual game.
Yeah.
Like the actual financial running it as a business and making it get better instead of just having it survive.
Yeah. Like they've had people that they've got into really high-profile roles at the Rugby Football League, and they make a big song and dance about it, and they're like, oh, isn't this great, this person, blah, blah, blah. And all I think is, like, this person's not doing anything. Like, why don't these people start doing something to help the game not die?
Yeah.
It seems like they all just want to parade around and say, oh, yeah, I'm this person at the Rugby Football League. It's great. And then, you say to them, oh, what are you doing? And then they'll say, oh, we're doing all this social justice part stuff. And it's like, okay, but the game's dying. Are you doing anything about that? And they're like, nah, fuck that shit.
So you've named your two favourite Australians who played in the Super League.
Playing English Rugby League all time.
Oh, all time English Rugby League. I see. Well, who would be your two in the Super League? Same two players?
Of all time, definitely. 100%.
Just in the Super League, not the RFL, going back to 1895, just the Super League era, 96 onwards.
Okay, so really my favourite Australians to play over there. Let me think. I'm sure there are some people that think I'm going to say Jamie Lyon, but fuck that fat cunt. I would say my two favourite Australians. It's really hard. I don't know. I haven't even thought about it actually.
Well, yeah, I'll toss in there Steve Edmed.
Oh, really?
Oh, he is the sort of businessman that they need running the Super League.
Why's that?
Right. Did you not hear about what he did for himself during the Super League war? The amount of money he got for himself.
He sure did, yeah.
Yeah, that's a man you want running Super League.
What about, what type of businessman they could really use over in Super League? Michael Gordon.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's got a coffee business.
It's going great. You should, man, the aroma.
It's fantastic. I love it. Keeps me up all fucking week, man.
As coffee should.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a unique blend.
I love the way it smells. I could just sniff that coffee all day.
You got to really get down and really get that shit into your lungs.
You breathe from your diaphragm, man. Get down.
Scoop it up. Just get a straw up each nostril.
Anytime I just feel like a little bump, I go and get some of that coffee.
Yeah, wonder what it's called.
I'm not sure. I know it's from Colombia. I know that.
Very, very good coffee that over there. So that was pretty much it then for emails and everything?
Yes, it was. Yeah, that's the only input that I've seen. Apart from all of we had so many really nice tweets about the 1997 episode. Me and Andrew spent a lot of time recording that. We loved it. We loved doing that episode, and so it was cool to get all of that really good feedback. So thanks to everyone that got involved and had a listen, and it was amazing to see how many people listened to it so quickly as well.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is I went through and calculated how much time we've dedicated to these the 4 seasons that we've done so far about pretty much following the Super League saga. Yep. And it's 11 and a half hours.
Wow.
Almost half a day.
That's not bad, hey?
Yeah, so if you're in quarantine over there in England, you want to learn about what happened over here during the Super League War and how, essentially, if we're really honest, the World Club Challenge competition in 1997 exposed how dire the game was in England and how England did fucking nothing about it. Get into it. It's fantastic.
It really is.
Maurice Lindsay gets mentioned quite a few times across all 4 episodes.
Yeah, I love Maurice Lindsay. I think he's great. Like, I know in England they hate his guts, and, a lot of it comes from the fact that he was running Wigan, and Wigan was beating the shit out of everyone. So a lot of people don't like him for that reason, but I just think he was fantastic.
Do you reckon he's worthwhile bringing back?
Man, he'd be pretty old now. Like, how old?
He's 79, turns 80 in May.
Yeah, see, I'm not surprised by that.
But the thing is, okay, I reckon he'd be one of those players. One of those administrators who everyone hated entirely while he was there.
Mm.
But after all the crap that the game's gone through since, a lot of them would look back on him and go, yeah, you know what? He actually was pretty good. Can we get him back?
I would take Morris Lindsay needing to spend £200,000 on travel expenses over the current bludgers who spent £750,000 on nothing.
You can be sure as shit too that Lindsay's not going to go around doing deals for fucking free pizza.
Yeah, no way in the world.
Oh, crazy stuff.
Really.
Yeah, is that pretty much it for the news?
I think so, yeah. It's been a good episode, a little bit of a quick episode from us. It's not been an hour and a half or anything like that, but you got enough content to listen to this week.
Yeah, we're just keeping you busy.
Yeah, exactly. So before we go, I want to say to everyone that me and Andrew leading into this year, we've got a lot of stuff we're going to be doing. We've got a lot of content we're putting out. We're always talking about what we're doing for the podcast and the future goals we have for the podcast and the stuff like that. And one of the things that helps us both is when people contribute to our Patreon pages. Now, Andrew's got one. It's at patreon.com/RL Project. And when you put money into that, and you can start it as little as $1 a month, up to $25 million a month. You just pick your level.
Yeah, it's one of those two.
Yeah. It's wouldn't that be nice? And that all goes towards his time podcasting, all of the articles that he writes, Rugby League Project, of course, and we all use Rugby League Project, and all of it, basically everything he does that's rugby league related. So that's, if you want to support Andrew, you go there. Go to RL Project. No, it's patreon.com RL Project and contribute to Andrew's Patreon. My one, if you contribute to my one, it goes to website costs, which I got like how many? 3, 4 websites, and then
Keep going.
Like 27 website addresses that I have, and then the rest goes towards any podcasting equipment. I probably would have paid off my microphone by now, which is good. I got a very expensive microphone for the podcast. So to go on my Patreon, you go to patreon.com/League Freak, and my one start from $3 a month, and my one has different tiers. So at some of them tiers, you get free merchandise after 3 months of contributing. So check out both of them. You can find links to them on the fergoandthefreak.com website, and anything that you want to contribute, that's great. If you can't afford it, that's fine. You know, we're not forcing anyone to do it, but any contributions are just fantastic. So thank you for just considering it.
Yeah, exactly. And look, one thing that's really big with these crowdfunding things, essentially what they are, is if you can't donate money to it, then one of the next best things you can do is share it around and promote it to other people.
Yeah.
And word of mouth is big.
It is, and it's the same thing with podcasts. Like, I know the Starting Block talks about Brad. It goes around and makes sure he subscribes all of his mates' phones to the Starting Block podcast. And when you are talking to your footy mates or you're at the footy or something, just get your phone out and say, hey, look, subscribe to this podcast, have a listen to it, because it really does make a difference. Like, we see every time someone subscribes to the podcast, we see when they've downloaded those initial 5 episodes or 10 episodes, whatever their podcasting app is set to, and we see that bump immediately. So if you know anyone that's a footy fan, just say to them, hey, I listen to this podcast. It's really informative. The statistician absolutely bags Poms all the time, and the other dude, well, what could they say I do?
Swear.
I don't swear. What are you talking about?
He's got a filthy potty mouth.
Yeah, apparently all of the people that are going to pass this podcast on, they're in what's that fucking English show, that period piece one? Is it Riverdale or some shit like that?
Is that Sanderson you're talking about?
I don't fucking know. I don't watch them fucking shows.
Neither do I.
How many fucking, by the way, how many English shows are basically it's like someone's solving crimes and they're either the local doctor, the local vicar, or just some old bird that's running around getting into everyone's business.
That's just ruined season 57 of Miss Marple's, whatever shit I was going to watch.
Ugh, they're all fucking the same thing. And like, can you imagine some old bird turns up to the fucking local town, and first of all, it's England, so everyone hated guts to begin with. So then she starts going around asking questions about people.
Being nosy.
Like, fuck off, you old bitch.
Let's be honest, okay? All of these crime TV series, all they are just longer, slower, more excruciating versions of Scooby-Doo.
Pretty much, yeah. You're right.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. The only thing that they're missing is like the two chicks, the blonde dude, the dog, and the fucking dirty, filthy hippie.
Like, let's be honest, there's not enough dirty, filthy hippies in TV series at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. That's one thing that England lacks. Hey, like, England does hillbillies really well, like the English version of hillbillies really well. It's called Witness. But then you've got, like, a real lack of English hippies.
Yeah.
Like, the closest you get is that, what's that dude that was, oh man, I almost went real man through it then. Holy crap, I'm glad I didn't. Yeah. What was the guy's name that was married to Katy Perry? Russell Brand.
Oh, Russell Brand, yeah.
Yeah, and he's not a dirty hippie. He's more of like a pirate.
Yeah. Yeah, I had something I was going to say there. I completely lost it, which is probably good because I don't think it was going to be good.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I was going to say by accident after the podcast. Man, I'm so glad I didn't.
So much fantastic content off air.
Oh.
Wow.
It's brilliant. It is really brilliant. And it's this brilliant podcast which is sponsored by manscaped.com. If you go to manscaped.com and put in our exclusive code, which is NRL, you get 20% off and free shipping. You get a 30-day money-back guarantee. Listen, I'm going to tell you something to check out now. You go on manscaped.com, right? Check out the Weed Whacker. It's for trimming all your nose hair and your ear hair so you don't end up looking like fucking John Howard. It's pretty damn good. It's at a really good price, and when you put in our code NRL, 20% off, it's like, man, this thing is like, you've just got to get it. It's had 194 5-star reviews. It's a revolutionary ear and nose hair trimmer with their skin-safe technology, and it's got a powerful 600 milliamp lithium-ion battery. Like, what more could you want?
And, I've got on good authority that thing actually hurts less than getting a COVID test.
100%. 100%.
And all a COVID test gives you is peace of mind. What the Weed Whacker gives you is a face that doesn't look like it's got potatoes growing out of it.
Exactly.
And, I mean, we've discussed potatoes an awful lot on this podcast. You don't want that.
No. It's got, the Weed Whacker has an intelligently contoured design with a 9,000 RPM motor that powers a 360-degree rotary dual blade system, and it's waterproof.
Mate, I reckon they need to get you on board to write their stuff on their website.
They really should, hey?
You know your shit.
Well, I try to. It's all about going and doing your research, I find.
Exactly. Research is king.
Yeah.
So, yeah, check out manscaped.com, and tell you what, if you're a business that wants to get, lots of promotion via our podcast and our social media networks, get in touch.
Yeah, we're looking for a betting company, basically, that wants to sponsor a weekly NRL round preview episode. And you know that we did a number of those last year. You've heard them. We saw by the numbers that you really enjoyed listening to them. And we want to do that and be able to give you the betting odds. And so if you know of any betting companies out there, or you're a betting company that's listening to this, get in touch with us. Just email us at podcast@leaguefreak.com. And we'll get chatting with you, and we'll see if we can do some sort of deal and get your betting odds out to the punters.
Exactly, man. That's a lot of advertising we've just done.
It really is, but sometimes you got to do it. Sometimes you got to do the housework, basically.
Exactly. We've saved you all from having to deal with that in the middle like YouTube. We just bang it all up the end.
Yeah.
That's if anyone's listening now.
That's true.
Well, that's a fantastic episode. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Make sure you check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Fergo Freak Pod. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. So get over there, subscribe, like everything. That'd be fantastic. Don't forget to leave us a comment on your podcasting and talk about whatever the hell you want and give us a 5-star review. That'd be fantastic because we'll read it on the podcast. We'll bung it up on the website. And last but not least, you can send us an email, as we already had today, and we'll answer them on the podcast as well. Mm-hmm. So they can contact us freaky on the website.
Yeah, go to the website, fergoonthefreak.com, click the contact button, and then just fill out the form that's on there and send us a message.
Easy as that. And we are done.
Goodbye, people.
Thanks for tuning in. Catch us all next time.